I'm going to be talking about hair color stereotypes. First of all, my real life situation is when I was at home, I rewatched a movie called Legally Blondes. In this movie, the blonde characters were portrayed as innocent, the most beautiful, all the guys want them, and the brunette was portrayed as the mean and bossy character in the movie. So this got me thinking, where does this all come from? And how is it actually that we shape these stereotypes, and what reasoning is there behind these stereotypes that make it become these stereotypes? And also, how is the mass media and the movies that we watch related to these stereotypes? This is how I got to my knowledge question, which is how important is the role of reasoning behind stereotypes influenced by mass media? The first thing I had to ask myself was, where did it start? In prehistoric time, blonde traits only came in because of a mutation, which is proven that by David Kingsley, a professor of development biology, that it's just a single strand of DNA that changes. A protein called KILTG is changed, which affects our hair color. This is a very small portion of the DNA, which shows that it doesn't affect any other traits that we have in our body, either intelligence or beauty or all of these factors. It's just plain hair color. And in prehistoric times, this was considered a very special and rare hair color because it only came into existence because of this mutation in the gene. So it also is kind of culturally influenced because in, for example, a lot of Asian countries, this mutation didn't take place. Then it goes on to Greek mythology, where blonde hair was really prized. For example, the goddess, Aphrodite, Athena, Hera, they were all blonde hair. So this, during that time, was, again, a very large impact as well. And then in the 1930s, Jean Harlow dyed her hair into a pure monochrome, depigmented hair to look better in black and white films. Because it was black and white, it was hard to portray a beautiful color or an obvious color for hair. If your hair was a dark color, it wouldn't show on a black and white film. It would almost blend in with the background. That's why she dyed it. So there is a lot of reasoning behind why she dyed her hair color into a blonde hair color in order to portray actually and be able to see her hair in the film. Which was purely for aesthetic value in the films, and which could influence our sight perception when we watch the films. When the movie came out, people started craving for blonde hair, and it drove a craze around the world because of how nice it looked in the movie, because you can actually see it. And then in the 1950s, Marilyn Monroe also had a blonde hair. She dyed her hair blonde. Originally she was actually a brunette, but she dyed her hair blonde also because it had aesthetic value because of Jean Harlow, as well as the movie that she was going to play in was But All Men Prefer Blondes. The title kind of says it all. And the character that she was had a soft voice, big eyes, fluffy blonde hair, and this kind of just enhanced and highlighted the blonde stereotype that people thought, especially also because of the people's reaction to the movie, because of All Men Prefer Blondes. There were people who have brunette hair that say we've got everything blondes have, and that brunettes and red hairs have the same traits. It's like, it doesn't matter what hair color you are. So this also became kind of a big thing because they made it into a large situation, and they made it important, and through mass media and the spreading of news they made it a really big situation and made it even more important that just being blonde is very important. If they haven't done that, perhaps it is possible that the blonde stereotypes would not be as large as it currently is. But through mass media, it has spread into a wider range. And then I'm going to talk about a few things that affect us through mass media. Firstly is intuition. which it subconsciously affects us because of the images that we keep watching in movies and commercials that put thoughts into our mind. And because it is constant, it just kind of stays at the head, behind our head, and it subconsciously affects us. It is very closely linked in with reasoning, because a lot of intuition, that if we have a certain intuition, because we have a dual system brain, when we have an intuition, we would base our reasoning according to intuition. It would affect us in a certain way, because we have this type of feeling that, for example, blonde hair, because of the things that we have watched, we think that blonde hair is more, that they are more beautiful. Then immediately we would think, okay, then when we, in our social life, we would go look for maybe perhaps people who have blonde hair as friends rather than people who have brunette hair, because they're mean and bossy. And intuition is also linked to reasoning, because it takes reasoning. If we constantly use reasoning to think of a situation, we make it, and it is repeated, we make it into intuition, because we believe that through all these constant reasoning and the same situation keeps happening, it becomes into intuition, because we believe it to be true. For example, these two pictures, this is from The Tourist, and if you were walking at night and you see a classy girl walking on the streets, you wouldn't really feel anything. You would just say, this is probably okay. But if you see this picture where it's a masked man, his face is all painted, he's wearing dark clothes covering his face, and he looks very dangerous. That is our first thought, which is also very stereotypical. Well, unless it's Halloween. So this is also a kind of view that we would get through stereotypes. And both of these are through mass media and movies. So this also affects our view on different types of people and how dangerous they are. Next one is emotion. Emotion can be affected in two ways. Firstly, it could be affected by past experiences, which is not according to mass media. It's a different way. According to the friends you have, you might make your own stereotypes, because of, if all your friends are brunettes and you think they're all very nice, or if they are all very bossy, then immediately the stereotype you would make would come into place, rather than watching movies and making these assumptions. And the other way is through mass media, which is when you watch a movie or if you see a commercial and you can relate to movies, you are more easily affected by the movies that are made, and that you would more easily also agree with the stereotypes and put them into your head, that this is the right stereotypes. Next one is cultural influences. It is very culturally influenced because, for example, in China, most people are black-haired or dark-haired. You don't really have people who have a blonde hair trait or any light color hair traits. But they have their own stereotypes. For example, in the Uyghur people are always considered to be thieves. It is not really related to a hair color, but they have their own stereotypes due to the fact that they don't have any light colored hair. However, if they did have foreigners who are coming with blonde hair and blue eyes, they would look at them with amazement, because they didn't used to have these stereotypes. They might not even have known that they existed. So this would come into place, and they would think that anybody with a hair color that was not black or was dark hair would be special and unique and different to themselves, which would then create also a different type of stereotype. Past experience, as I have just now already said, it is also very much influenced by the people you are with and the social environment that you are in, because these type of things affect how many people you know, and actually meeting with the different people with the different stereotypes or the different hair colors, the different skin colors. All of these would affect the way that we perceive people, especially within our family is probably the most important way, because we know them the best, so it's easier to relate. Here are some other real-life situations that I have found through commercial and through mass media that have affected us. Even children who are selling Barbie dolls. They're all blonde for some reason, which was very interesting. Then you have this, which is a really old one. You mean a woman can open it? This was a stereotype that was very sexist, and it portrayed women as all women as very dumb. If a woman can open it, anybody can open it. So commercial and magazines. These also affect the cliques that we have in school. Because of movies, we might have the tendency to label ourselves. For example, we might label ourselves as the popular kids, the sports people, I'm the quarterback type of things. So in conclusion, mass media is very much helping, highlighting the stereotypes that we have. However, it is not the only way that we perceive and create stereotypes. We also use our past experiences through our social networks. And let's go back to my question. And also reasoning is very important, because we use reasoning in order to have a clear understanding of what's around us, but it is not the only way. We use intuition, which is closely related but slightly different. And we also have emotion that we use in order to create stereotypes and how we perceive others.